All right. So, how is this graphic applied? There's lots of ways you can do it. You can take a look at those fringe skills and think about, okay, what do I want students to inhale and what do I want them to exhale? Are there pieces of flex and flow that I want us to go back and forth between so that we can see how the, structures of the thing that we're trying to execute work? We can also take a look in the center and think about that Bloom's taxonomy sort of phase or process. I borrowed heavily from graphic design ideation processes as well. I'm taking some graphic design courses, hence the graphics. And so you can see that along with Bloom's, there is a process of development that happens when you're thinking about how to make a product that fits a particular need from a company and then can deliver that access to a user or customer. So, with the process that's listed off in the middle there, you can follow it from the top, which would be that base sort of section of Bloom's with the things you need to know to understand the foundations of the content area, definitions, the language, some of the broad concepts or applications. In the middle, this ideation stage is where we start to conceptualize and take this stuff apart. So when we are working through that ideation process, we might have lots of ideas. It's not the time to eliminate possibilities. So remove the instinct to edit and filter in favor of going forward to that prototyping and experimenting stage. That's where you can really start to see, how is this going to work? How will this function? Is the product I'm making the thing that I want it to be? How can I continue to edit and develop my design? So you often go back and forth between ideation, prototyping, and getting some ideas or some feedback from your audience, because it's not a one-way linear action idea of how can we make the most of being together again. And I decided, and this was maybe a little controversial for other people to see, but I decided that some of the time that I had in the block, I was going to dedicate to going outside to walk and talk. And I know not every curriculum supports this, but 1/6 of my curriculum is about speaking and 1/6 is about listening. So this idea that we could go and do this nice outdoor, safely unmasked and distanced activity and get to know each other was revolutionary and yet really in keeping with the spirit of my curriculum and what I wanted us to create for our community. So I knew that was my focus and I knew that was the priority. So I made time for them as much as we could. Every day the weather permitted, we were outside walking and talking. And very quickly, those students who didn't have a person to walk and talk with were scooped up and they found a person or they found a group or they were brought into one. And so that was building our community right from there. And we would come back from these walks and the conversation would continue. So it was really something special to see as these relationships develop. I also, as we got towards, the numbers are rising, we might be at home, I suggest that they get phone numbers and contact information for their new friends. And it really, I was surprised at how many students hadn't done that on their own. These are skills they maybe haven't ever had to use if they've never moved to a new city. And it was something that they just needed some space for and some support and reminder to do. And here we had this whole layer of connection. So the walk and talks were not the point of this project. The point was to get up and speak in front of the class, but to speak about the thing they knew for sure already, not something they had to become an expert in and then present or muddle through, but their sport, their passion, the things that are on the walls of their room, the thing they want to do for their career out of high school or what they would do for free forever because it's that much fun for them. So we had quite a range, such an interesting gamut of things came in for sure. I had students who wanted to talk about their sport and skiing, and I had students who wanted to talk about cooking and all kinds of different activities, art and collections and travel. And I helped them figure out what kind of visual artifacts they could include. So I suggested as much as we could to have a completely visual presentation. Don't add words first. We end up, we have all sat through those presentations where they're reading off the slide the whole time and it's painful for everybody. So if your, skill that you're trying to develop here is to speak, do you really need to have all those words on your slide to help you speak about the thing you love? You know this thing inside and out. So give yourself visuals that remind you what you want to say, but that don't hold you to a story or require you to read right off the slide. So that right off the bat was developing that speaking skill and secondary representation skill where they were choosing their visuals. We were not yet a class. We were in class together, but we didn't necessarily have a classroom culture developed that made me feel sure that we were in deep culture. I wasn't sure if we were in shallow or if we were in shark infested culture. I had a class the year before that was definitely filled with sharks, and they're wonderful sharks, but they're so competitive it can be a little bit intimidating for others. And when a student came to me and told me what his topic was, I was afraid for him. I was worried that he was in a class of sharks and he didn't know, or he was going to take this risk and wouldn't be safe to take the risk.